Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. My name is Mpho and I've got Tim DeLace here with me. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing good. Doing well. Doing good. Enjoying the Tri Series. I want to see more Tri Series. More Tri Series, the
Serious?
better.
You're
I love
enjoying
them.
it?
No, I love Tri Series. If we played less bilateral, and the ODIs that we did play were Tri Series, I would be much happier. Much happier,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. No, I'm with you, Tim. Like nothing I can do about that. I like it because it's T20s as well. So it's really surprising that you are all for Tri Series, even if it's a T20 kind. But look, the Tri Series are really interesting for me. The only problem is I think the home nation's not gonna give any sort of a fight. I think Zim is going through that, but we're gonna talk about that later on, right? This show is just for us to discuss what's been happening in the week of cricket, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening, right? The first thing that has happened, Tim, is Marco Janssen's injury. He's gone in for surgery. And yeah, it was a bit of a surprise that the news came through that he's gone in for surgery, but we wish him all the best in terms of him getting back to full fitness and all and the like. So yeah, really, really not sad. I think he needs the rest, but yeah, it's going to take him about 6 weeks to get to be fine. And yeah, as long as he's ready for Pakistan, I'm all good.
Exactly. If you want somebody to have a forced layoff, this is the time to have it.
Yeah.
This right here is the perfect time for him to have it. So hopefully he'll come back stronger and better afterwards. So
yeah,
I'm not overly concerned, as you say, as long as he goes on those tours to Pakistan, then everything should be fine.
Yeah, no, it's a left thumb injury for Mark Jansen, so it is his bowling hand. So we just have to be very careful about that. But yeah, that was the first news that came down the pike. And then the interesting one, obviously, we've been promised a convener of selectors ever since Shukri was appointed all format coach. We were promised by CSA that we're going to get a convener selector, no longer a panel, but one person, right? And I, in this whole director of cricket world, I always thought the director of cricket would be the convener of selectors, right? He effectively is the guy, right? And so he's like, no, I'm looking at all Proteas above that. And so for each team, you're going to have a convener selector. I know the women's team does have a convener of selectors, but now obviously the men's team is going to have that. And we're kind of going back to traditional cricket again, where it's kind of like, you have to have it's coach, captain, and selector having the discussion. I'm assuming Enoch's going to be there as also. It's going to be like a four-man system. They haven't told us how it's going to work. But what we know is that convener selector is going to report to the director of cricket and work closely with the Proteas Men's head coach, which is Shukri Conrad. So here, the name is Patrick Moroney. Patrick Moroney has been in various roles in South African cricket, across the levels from high school sports all the way to the men's under 19 team. He's been a convener selected for the National Academy, SA Emerging, and SA and men's under 19 teams, and he's very experienced. I just didn't think it was a name that I didn't think for myself, Tim, I would have expected to hear. I was expecting potentially someone who was potentially a bridge between domestic and international. But even then, if you had to ask me for names, I'd be giving you names of former coaches rather than necessarily names of, and then potentially former players rather than necessarily names of guys who've been in this role for a very, very long time. But there are those that are the only question, obviously, for me, Tim, is were there more people who applied for the role? In terms of looking at the options, but like it feels to me as though it's a step up for Patrick. He has never been in this role before in terms of the national team. He's always been in and around at the lower levels, and Enoch knows him well, and I think he's done a really great job. And that was it. It was just a surprising name to come out the hat. But even then, I think it's a good name to come out the hat. Maybe it's something we're going to need to do something a little bit different. Instead of other countries are going for former players, George Bailey's found himself as a convener of selector, and I thought maybe we'd be going that route. But in effect, we've gone with someone who's been at the grassroots, who knows the pipeline, and who understands where the youngsters are going. Look, it was a surprising name, especially with all the success we've had. But yeah, look, I think it's a solid pick for the role. Obviously, we don't know about the relationship between him and the coach, but we hope that he's a good sounding board to Coach Shukri, and obviously not a yes man, but also not a no man, but a 50-50 man in terms of not every decision Shukri makes must be backed, and not every decision Shukri makes must be battered away. It must be a 50-50. And I know he comes from Western Province. I just hope that he has his eyes around the country, because
no, he's Gauteng boy.
Is he? Last time I met him was the Western Province, but yeah, maybe it was
Patrick's the Gauteng boy.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes. Anyway, I do apologize. Tim, what do you think?
I've got to be careful what I say here. So, I have said that Shukri needs a middleman. I've been saying on this podcast for months. If you go back to our archive, probably the last at least 6 months, probably longer, you will have heard me say we need a middleman. It makes more sense to me, particularly with the fact that now Shukri is all-format coach, so he's going to have even less time to have a look at the domestic setup and see who's doing well and who's producing the goods, and trying to find that character individual within the domestic setup. It's very difficult for Shukri to do that when he is going to be all-format coach. So, for me, it was needed. I absolutely get your point about Enoch. Enoch, though, his priorities are all national sides. So it would have given him an extra load, which I don't think would have been needed, would have been necessary. So from that point of view, it makes sense to get somebody in between. My concern is Cricket South Africa have been taking a lot of steps forward recently. Not just the World Test Championship win, but just generally. Things are a lot more settled within the two teams at the moment, within the national side. The camp seems happy. Everybody knows their roles. It seems a bit strange to me to have 2 steps backwards. Patrick Moroney was part of the selectors when Victor Pitsang was our convener of selector from 2020 to 2023.
Yes.
He was part of that. And if we look at that reign was not a harmonious reign. If you look at the miscommunication between the players in Cricket South Africa around that period, it was not harmonious. When we started this podcast, we had several players come out to us and say, communication is a problem. We don't know where we stand. We don't know what we need to do to get into the side. We don't know where we stand as an individual. And if you go back to our most recent interviews, you'll see that has changed. You'll see that while there still needs to be improvement, communication is improved. The understanding of where players are is better. Players know their roles. Players know what is required from them to take that step up. I'm I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we can have another breakup in the relationship between the players that are coming in and the players that are there within the setups. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not concerned. I am concerned. After that 3-year period.
But Tim, obviously, Tim, hold
yeah.
on. I think you gotta kind of balance it out, right? I understand the communication was an issue, but you can't necessarily put it on a member of the selection panel, right? Because from a communication perspective with the players, right, the ultimate viewpoint should be sitting at the head of the convener of selectors and or head coach, right? Because I think, yes, we're picking sides, right? But we're picking sides to help the coach and the captain win games, right? And so when you're building a squad of players and a depth of squad of the players, that communication needs to come from either the convener of selectors. And Patrick wasn't convener of selectors. It was Victor. It wasn't, yes, he was part of the selection panel. Unless if there's a role where he was a convener of selectors and this communication thing happened. I do agree with you that with two voices in the room, two big voices in the room, communication is going to get lost because obviously one person's probably got a view on a player in one direction and another person's going to have a view of a player in a different direction, which is why, to a certain extent, I was comfortable with Shukri doing it all. But I don't think he can. But I do think maybe this role needs to be more of an identification of the types of players that Shukri might use. So you kind of sit and figure out the types of players that Shukri is looking for. We're looking to play positive cricket. We're looking to punch people in the mouth. We're looking for players who can do multiple things all at once, right? Like a Corbin Bosch, right? You can do many things. A Mutusami, a George Linda, those types of players, right? And obviously from a fast bowling perspective, you're looking for guys who are 140 plus and have a couple of skills. See, that type of thing. If that's what the relationship's going to be, then communication is simple, right? You have the starting 11, most of the guys. I think these teams pick themselves. It's just a question of what you tell the other people. But if we have a different view on players, you're going to find yourself in the situation we've always found ourselves in South African cricket, in terms of the fact that you'll always be fighting over players, you'll always be fighting over selection, players will have an ambiguous view of where they stand, largely because one selector says this, the convener says this, the coach says this. And that for me is the issue about having two people in a role where, as you say, communication is very key. They all need to be speaking in the same direction. And I think that's the thing that I'm worried about, is having a second cook in the kitchen when the main cook's been cooking up a storm and been successful that way. You could even get to a point where it's going to be like, well, I've won the World Test Championship. I don't need you. Just as I'm not saying it will happen because Shukri's a great guy and he'll work with anybody. But that type of mentality could come through if there's a difference of opinion. And that hurts the players more than the relationship itself.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. The other sort of, I was going to get into a slightly more balanced view in terms of, because I am worried. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not. I am concerned. But these two do have a relationship. Patrick and Shukri do have a relationship. They worked at under 19 level together when Mpho was at the side. So they do have a working relationship in that World Cup that Mpho went to. So they have worked together before. This will be new. I'm hopeful it works. I don't want it to not work. I just don't want to see return of what we saw literally just a few years ago. I would have preferred if we got with a new, somebody new, because Patrick was in a similar role under 2 years ago. You know, it's not like he was involved 10 years ago. It's a very recent thing.
Look, and to a certain extent, And since that's my apprehension with all of this, he was part of a selection panel call before. And I thought maybe it was time to go try find someone new, someone with a different perspective, right? For instance, if you said Paul Adams, I'd be like, yeah, that would make sense, right? If, for instance, you told me, I know you don't want Imran Khan out, but you said Imran Khan comes into this role largely because Imran Khan's worked in domestic cricket. He's also been part of he was obviously currently he's high performance batting consultant, but in the structures, right? That would make sense, right? Or someone like a I don't know, for instance, an Alan Donald. It would be left field, but it'd be, yeah, it makes sense. Or a Hashim Amla. I know Hash and Alan are working for the Lions, but someone like that. They've spent the year traveling the country, watching cricketers play across all three formats. They would know a lot better. And on top of that, they have the gravitas because they were South African greats, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you'll then say, but obviously selection is different. Convening, I don't know. I don't know what a convener of selector does. My assumption is it's talent identification. And I don't deny Patrick has that. All I'm saying is I was looking for something more left field. I think this is a very, very solid pick. Very solid. I think Patrick has earned everything he gets. And I think it's an opportunity for him to actually be a convener of selectors, right? And for us to see him. And I think he's really great at the youth levels and in the domestic level. So he'll be great. What I was just thinking was maybe someone left field, someone that we didn't think, someone maybe who has been in and around the system for quite some time and is able to bridge the gap between international and at the international level and the domestic level, because some guys are great at domestic, but they're not great at that step up, right? And that's the thing. And the idea to be rewarding, and that's what happened, I think, in that period, was we had a lot of mixed messages. We ended up rewarding guys who may not necessarily have made it at that international level. And on top of that, I think you also had a reluctant coach who was just there to help a friend and not necessarily, and then all the issues that we have around transformation and all of that, he just used that as an excuse to kind of be like, I'm not able to pick the teams that I want to be picking, right? And so I thought we'd go a little bit left field, maybe former player. But we've done that with Victor Mpitsang before, right? So maybe this is Enoch saying, I need someone who actually has been traveling around the country, can travel around the country, because that's the other thing, right? It's the role of the convener of selectors is actually to go around the country and sit and watch cricket games. You've got YouTube now, so you can sit in your lovely office in Pretoria and watch 3 million YouTube channels with videos, all live streaming. But there's also the thing of going to the teams, sitting with the teams, talking to the teams, getting a sense of who the player is, because essentially that's what Shukri was doing for the test side, right? That's what he was doing. Now you're going to need someone to do that across all the formats. And I think maybe that's the reason why a former player may not work, or someone like that. And you want someone who is willing to give up. Because the thing that I love about Patrick, right, is that he's devoted his life to development of cricket. That I'll give you 100%. And he's more willing, and his life is set up that way, to then go and travel around the country and do what we want, right? We want to the only thing I'll ask of Patrick is he needs to look at Division 2. He really needs to look at Division 2 and goes to the communication thing, right? Create a pathway, right, for players, right? The George van Heerdens, right? A guy like a George van Heerden, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in Zimbabwe. If you're thinking about it, right? He's young. He's done really well in Division 2. He's really, really having a great time of it. Why not throw him in there? Obviously, we've thrown in some other youngsters there, Ruben Hanman and all of those things. But those are the type of things that you are looking to try and see if that's going to work, right? We're looking for off spinners, right? And the like, right? We don't have a lot in Division 1, but we've got quite a few in Division 2. Give those guys a chance, right? And to see the whole of the South African domestic landscape as what it is. And I think it's great. I as I think about it, I think the idea of looking for someone more prominent, someone like a former player, may not be that, because but the only question then is that I'd ask is, are you happy that it's one person and not a panel? Because in my head, I'm like, I'm very happy that it's one person and it's not like another group of people.
Of the terrible options that were available, going back to, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is just mine, going back to Victor, number one, and number two, having a 6-panel selection panel of 6 people from all the different provinces would have drove me mad. This is the better one. You don't want too many voices. Having an extra voice was needed for Shukri. Too many voices, which we had in the past, creates problems. You then get accusations of nepotism. You want a player from this region, that region. Why are you not picking a player from this area? It creates a wave of problems. Look, I'm not saying that everything that comes out of England is marvelous. It absolutely isn't. But we have gone in the same direction that they have. So they have got Rob Key, Brendan McCallum, and Luke Wright. Those are the 3, with the captain. Those are the 3 they've got.
Is Luke Wright the convener of selectors?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've got the same route that we have. Well, they started it. That's what you want. You want 2 or 3 people bouncing ideas and plans forward per tour, per game. You don't want 6, 7, 8. It then becomes, but what about me? What about me? That becomes a huge problem. So an extra person, yes. Any more? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Look, I think to close this out, right, we wish Patrick Moroney all the best. I think the view that you are saying, Tim, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, is we hope that it's not like the Graham Smith director of cricket years, where there wasn't a lot of communication with the players.
Yeah.
We hope that that actually, with him coming in, and we're not saying because he was convener, we're not gonna paint him with the same brush. No, obviously, in media, we like to paint groups in the same brush, right? We hope that he actually is the bridge between Shukri and the players, and whatever vision Shukri has is extended to the players to open up the nets, because that's what we're trying to do with the Tri Series. We're trying to open up the net. We're trying to have players who are ready. When injuries happen, bring guys in. When loss of form happens, send someone back to domestic, bring someone in to kind of fill the role. And you do that, and you give guys that view, right, of where they are and what they do, and give more people an opportunity, because the only way I think domestic cricket gets stronger is if more people believe they can make the Proteas side. If more people believe they can make the Proteas side, more people are going to more people are going to lock in a little bit more and try and get the runs. With all the players that we've interviewed throughout the years, the one strip that you have that comes through is that ambition to be a Protea player. And they know that runs are a currency, wickets are a currency. But the fundamental thing is they know that if they do enough, they get there. They just don't know what enough is, right? And, well, you can break the door down like some have done, but it'd be good to have someone who is that conduit, who is talking to players, who's giving players tips, who's trying to tell players what it is they need to fit a certain system. What I love about what they're doing in the UK or in England is a guy like Dom Sibley scored 300 runs. He will never see the English national team. He knows that because they told him. They said it, right? We love Dom Sibley. I think he's great. He's just a little weird in terms of batting technique, but scored 300 runs. But you'll expect someone to score 300 runs to, be looking, because there's Creepy Crawley there who just can't do anything. But because it was communicated, people can figure out their lives, right? And that's what we want. That's fundamentally what we want. We want a player forward, player centric convener of selectors who actually is looking to give people nuggets. When a player comes to you from, I don't know, Northwest, and it's like, hey coach, hey convener Patrick, what are my chances of making it? Patrick's like, look, dude, at this point in time, it's a no. But if you do A, B, C, and D, we'll look into it. Maybe an emerging, maybe all of these things. And that for me is the great thing. And I think maybe even if I don't know the role, but if the role also extends to emerging, so you kind of have those bridges from SAA to emerging, and Patrick's looking at the entire landscape and universe, then potentially, then yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. If we don't see a return of what happened 2020 to 2023, then that's a good thing. And as long as the community, as you say, the most important thing, I may have said a lot, but the most important thing is communication. If the communication is there, that is the most important thing. Everything else will fall into place.
No, that's true. Everything will fall into place. Okay, next topic we need to talk to is the SA U19. The SA U19s saw their lives yesterday, unfortunately, losing by 130 runs in Benoni. I was actually interested to kind of figure out what that pitch was going to play like in winter, because we don't normally play in winter. But again, interesting game. Bangladesh batted first, and it's all in preparation for the Under-19 World Cup. Bangladesh batted first. They scored 285 for 6 in their 50 overs, which is a mammoth total. But South Africa only managing 155 for 10. Tim, that was yesterday. We're just talking about it, but obviously our topic is the importance of games like this. The ability for guys to understand where they stand. My view for under-19s has always been, I'm not too fussed about it as long as we still compete and we're there. Because every year a team will have superstars, and another country will have other superstars. I love the Afghanistan years where all of them were 19 at the same time and they just dominated us. The West Indies also went through that patch with the Jaden Seals group, which for the life of me is struggling to make it into that senior setup. And that was like a couple of years ago. And obviously, I feel we've gone through past our golden period where we've produced the Luandres, the Gwenas, as well as the Tristan Luces and the Diego Brevises. But obviously, it's also good for us to understand that we won't win every game. We won't win every tournament, but we will compete. And we also want a pipeline for guys to go through. Not all under-19 teams are remembered. Some... like Ryan Rickleton played an under-19 team that nobody remembers, right? There's that famous Wayne Parnell, Quinton de Kock under-19 team that played. No, yeah, was it Quinton and Wayne? I think so. Yeah, and all of the like. But they always got like some games, but they never got like youth ODIs and all that. But we're seeing that now in the past couple of years. In preparation for the World Cup, we've hosted many a team. We've hosted India here. We've hosted a lot of countries here to play against us. Even England, I think, came down at one point in time. How important are these series for the under-19s as they build up to the World Cup?
Sorry, I'm sticking something up there. Look, because we don't play enough cricket, I mean, we all know this. We all know in terms of a domestic program, we don't play enough. These SA Under-19, SA Emerging, SAA games are absolutely vital to bridge the gap between the domestic and international cricketers. The more we play, the better. So they are imperative. They are imperative. And because of the fact that we don't play a lot of Test cricket in this next cycle again, the fact that these games are happening, they need to happen more often, is a huge, huge bonus for these players. They're going to benefit, particularly when they play away from home. They're going to benefit from playing different conditions, different opposition, potentially players that they will later play against when they play for our national setup. So they will know their games. it's an important education in the youngsters' education in terms of cricket. What has happened previously is to our cricketers particularly, and it's largely due to the fact that we don't play enough games. There are other factors like financial. Is when they get to 18 and there's nothing for them, they go boom, they go straight over to the UK. They play second level cricket. They get your contract if you're good enough, and they don't come back. They don't come back. The guys that come back start their careers here. That's what happens. So we need to hang on to our talent. We need to find ways of hanging on to our talent by giving them these games. It's absolutely vital. I just want to touch on that very briefly. When you look at the results, 5 years ago, Bangladesh were here at the 19th World Cup, and they won it. They won it in their own backyard. They are very, very, very good at sort of 15, 16, 17, 18. Their talent pool is enormous. So just temper your frustration on the loss. The loss is not that important. We want to win. It's the development of our cricketers that is far more important.
Yeah, look, my thing is they're children. I don't expect children to do anything. I just want them to enjoy, learn their game, and play to the best of their abilities. If they give me their best, I'm happy. I'm not a win and loss for teenagers. Like the moment you enter the senior level, yes. But before then, I'm not gonna. So it's a similar way I look at Gwena, Luandre, and to a certain extent Devald, right? I need you guys to play to the best of your abilities, to enjoy your games, to do all of that. Yes, there's a level of responsibility as you grow up that you need to get, but it's about getting the knack of playing international cricket, getting the knack of representing your country. It's totally different than playing Titans and Lions, right? It's different when you play, and the reason why we have youth, these age group teams, is so people understand that when they actually wear the Proteas thing, it's not like, oh, I've never been here before. You understand how it moves. You understand the media. You understand what a game day morning looks like if you're a South African cricketer. It's different to a game day morning with you waking up out of your bed and going to the stadium to play for the Lions, right? It's totally different, right? And so it's about understanding, and then the weight of representing your country. We're not saying stink up the joint. What we're saying is the understanding that you always have to give yourself 100%. The one case in point that I'll give you is Vian Mulder. Vian Mulder understands what it means to represent South Africa. Yes, last week we went hammer and tongs on him for the 367 because he refused to allow me to call him Mr. 400, right? But fundamentally, what Vian has learned as an age group cricketer in the things is how important it is to give your best and be a team man for the team. There'll be days where you will go out for duck, but then you must be able to be electric in the field, right? They are days where you are not good with the ball, but you'll be phenomenal with the bat. Even if you're not, you must always give 100% to the team, to the badge. We want the cricketers and young cricketers to understand that. And it's a beautiful opportunity because only like 15 to 20 people every year ever get the opportunity of representing South Africa SA U19. And it's the stepping stone to you realizing that you're a professional, that this can be the professional level. And it should also build up that fire to say that I want that Proteas jumper. I want that ability to be able to, walk in and everyone opens the doors for me. My bags are carried for me. That type of vibe. I don't think like the senior players get their bags carried for them, but that vibe. And this is the start. This is the start of the dream. And getting just it, and this is where you get to see it. And obviously they're going to Zimbabwe later on in August with Bangladesh, and they're going to play Zimbabwe. And now you're an international side and you're going to comport yourself like a South African cricketer should. And this is how you see yourself in the senior level shoes. This is where it all starts. So make the most of the opportunity and all of that. I see Jason Rawls got injured. I hope he can play some of the games because he was the guy I was looking to kind of anchor this innings. But it's also an opportunity for everyone else to give themselves a chance. Mohamed Bulbul is a very good batter, very, very good batter. I think he comes out of St. David's, yeah, someone to watch out for. But look, the other thing with yesterday's game was I thought that Willamore Park pitch was devoid of bounce. It was flat, and as Ben Stokes likes to say, and he said it about Edgbaston, subcontinental. So I ain't complaining. I'm not gonna cry. These kids need to learn to play in different conditions, and winter cricket kind of gives you a little bit of that subcontinental. And the other thing is spin. How do you play quality spin from guys who play spin, who bowl spin their entire lives? And so for me, that's always been the fun part about under 19s. Even the ladies under 19 side is like, how do you play? Because in women's cricket, every single body is a spinner, and you need to learn to play that. So I wasn't worried. Very, very easy. My only thing is I'm happy Bangladesh has a group of youngsters that actually can compete and be strong at the World Cup. Hopefully they can feed into their system. But like I say again, adults ruin everything. Adults ruin everything. Kids, well, if you're still a kid, just let the kids play. And we're letting them play. So I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agree entirely.
So they've got so they have another game tomorrow. It'll be on CSA's YouTube channel on the 19th, tomorrow Saturday, and then on the 22nd, and then I think they move over to Zimbabwe to play in the Tri Series, where everyone gets to play. Each team's going to play 4 games. So yeah, it's good preparation for the World Cup. Really, really good preparation. It's also going to be interesting to see what Zimbabwe's under 19s look like. I think Zimbabwe's always been a very interesting country in terms of cricketers. They can produce some really, really good cricketers. Okay. Then obviously let's move over to the Tri Series. We're not going to cover the Tri Series in full. Obviously, South Africa beat Zimbabwe in Harare, and then they lost to New Zealand in somewhat was a little bit of a beatdown, Tim. But we're just taking high level notes. Obviously, I hate losing to Rob Walters. That's that I must underline that, but I think we'll still win at the end. Like, he's just won a battle. He didn't win the war. But a couple of things that I noticed, and it's actually weird now from a bowling perspective. We're in a little bit of a sticky situation. We couldn't take a wicket in the last 10 and a half overs of the New Zealand game, which is fundamentally, I think, where we lost the game. I think that pitch in Harare is a 160 pitch. It's not a 170 pitch. And then on top of that, from a batting perspective, I do think we were pretty loose. I think guys are taking the positivity to a little bit more of an aggressive point. And I know I said, I'm not worried about David Brevis. I never am. But we had guys with starts in that game. We had 4 guys with starts, Luandre, Develt, Rassi and Riza. And I think all of them couldn't convert. And I think they kind of felt like they needed to up the ante, and the shots they played aren't shots I wouldn't want you to play, even in T20 at the start of an innings, right? Like that little cut that Luandre was trying to play through third man. I get it. It's instinctual. It's one of the things I take out of your game. Unless if you're like on 50 and then you can, play it. But if you're still in your 30s, the idea is I'd prefer either you leave the ball or you play down the ground. But it's things like that. Deva Brevis likes holding out. He lives and dies with the sword. I'd like game situations, especially when we're chasing, and he'll learn about that, right? And especially because he's batting lower down the order. He's not batting at 4, he's batting at 6. So my thing is, you got to have a little bit more responsibility. But that comes with time, comes with age. So I'm not mad. I'm actually more worried about our bowling than our batting. I think we went spinner heavy in the second game, and it came back to bite us. So, yeah, I think that that for me, and those middle overs, just managing those middle overs, that was my thing with this. From an audition perspective, I think Luandre and Devalt are here to stay. I think Corbin adds a little bit more, but I want wickets from Corbin. It's the same argument I always had with Keshav, right? It's great to have Keshav in as your spinner in thingy because he's economical, but I want Keshav to take wickets. I want Corbin to take wickets. I love his runs, but dude, I need wickets. Like that's where I'm at, especially death bowling. I don't think we have a specialist death bowler outside of Lungi. But yeah, I'm looking there going, we don't have someone we can throw the ball to say, hey, can I get a Yorker? And next ball, repeat. That I know it's hard to bowl Yorkers, but you know that what I mean. So that's my thing. But it's good to see Nandre. It's good to see Gerald back, and I think we'll still beat New Zealand when we play them again on Tuesday. But yeah, I think from a balance perspective, it was slightly off from in the bowling side.
No, I agree. I don't think the focus here is win this tournament, win the trophy, come home and say we've got a nice trophy in our cabinet. I really don't see that as being the goal here. We are going to play more like this in this format. Rusty said it in the press conference. He said, this is the way we want to play. Yes, we didn't manage the situation well from a batting point of view, but with this positive approach, you are going to see more of it. That's just factual. We are going to see more of it. Whether we see better management, well, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to hope so. I agree. In terms of game 2, it was definitely a struggle in terms of the bowling. We were in that game for large parts. We were in control for 16 overs winning the bowling. They scored 50 runs in the last 4 overs. That was it. That was when we lost it. It wasn't anywhere else. That was when we lost it. As you quite rightly say, chasing between 150, 160 on that pitch, that's about right. What we had to chase was just too much in the end. Yeah. But as you say, great to see Gerald and Nandre bowling, and not bowling within themselves. They let it rip. Very, very important going forward for them that they are free of injury.
Yeah. Do you know who I like in this format? And I'd like to see him play a lot more is Gwena. I think Gwena's just, he's cranking it up, putting it out there. I think he feels more comfortable here than in the longer formats. We'll still need to work on economy rate, but I love the fact that he's bowling out of his socks here.
I think that's his role. His role is, listen here, just bowl as quick as you can and rush the batsman and hopefully we get a top edge, caught behind, slips third man, that kind of thing. You don't want him to hold back when he's only got 4 overs. Let's put it that way. What's the point? No. What's the point of playing him if you're telling him, bowl 130s? That's not really his thing. It may become with his thing later on in life when he wants to come up with more varieties and curtail his speed. But right now, where he is, let it rip.
No, I'm with you there. Because I'm looking at like the scorecard and I'm like, Mutasami played really well with the ball. I'm not mad. I just was worried. I was wondering why they batted him at 4 instead of bringing in Rassi.
Should have batted 4.
But you kind of get the sense that Shuki's looking for a spinner in the top 6 who can bat. And my question was, why don't you just put George Linder up there? I get from a talent perspective, maybe Sunran is more gifted with the bat. But I think this is the format where we can use George more, and I wouldn't mind him in the top 6 if you're trying to extend the batting lineup a little bit, and because what it looks like is we have a very strong top order, right? Hadman, Hendricks, Luandre, chef's kiss. Middle order, Deerveld is there. Rassie is playing a little bit too far deep into the middle order, and I think they were trying to bring Rassie into there. I'd rather do what they did in the first innings with having Rassie at 3 and Ruben at 4, and then Deerveld at 5, and then you just go all rounders instead of trying to mix and match and change roles for people. Because Rassie works well with the new ball. We know this. We've seen this at the Lions. Even in the Lions team where you had Ricks, Timber, Reza, and him, right? And he was batting at 4, largely because everyone else needed that opportunity, right? And plays better. So I think that's where his floor should be. I'm happy that we're using all the batters, so they're going to have at the end of the series, they have 4 opportunities to have batted, right? So I'm really happy with that. I just feel from a bowling perspective, I think, Corbin adds the batting, but from a bowling perspective, he's not there. That's my...
Which you see, in an ideal sense, you would have Tristan Lewis, Oaknor Bartman, or Cody Youssef. You pick one of those, would be here. That's in an ideal world. That's what you would probably go towards. Hey?
Why aren't they here? Because they're the better. There are our guys in domestic cricket in the deaths. So why aren't they here instead of? I get the whole Corbin fascination about him batting and bowling. I get it, but we're not seeing dividends in 2 games. But I don't want to judge. He's got 2 more games. I still persist with this team. I think this team is really good. Maybe chop and change. I think the chopping and changing might be Gwena coming out for Nandre. I want to see how that works because I'd like to see Nandre and Gerald opening the bowling and see if we can't break through.
Blitz people, yeah.
Look, Gwena can blitz people, but let's see what the experienced guys can do, right? Because we're hoping that they're fit, right, and they can play throughout the rest of the year. I love the fact that they're playing Sen and Linda, so we've covered that spin angle. And then I'd like to see Ngaba Peter come in, but if he does, one of the quicks must go. But I don't know if Rassie has enough control of the middle overs with Ngaba Peter and the 2 spinners. Because I look at Sen, I'm like, Sen bowled 4 overs, 4.75 a thingy. That's perfect. George only bowled 1 over, and he got taken to the cleaners.
He got taken, but you still could have used him. You still could have used him on another over.
You should have used him more. Yeah, but it's also the inexperience of captaincy, right? It's just, I find it quite tough when he's gone for 13 runs. Give him another chance, right? But I think it's just that management of the middle overs because we couldn't get who's that guy's name? Was it Tim Robinson out? And then Bevan Jacobs against his former country. It bothers me against his former country.
Really? Making his ancestors very unhappy.
No, I think his ancestors are very happy because his ancestors didn't like people like me. So I think his ancestors are very, very happy with what happened there. They've discovered someone there, but they also bat quite deep. Hey, Mitch Santner coming in at 9. Jeez. At 8. Wow. Anyway, but look, my thing is we're looking for all-rounders. T20 is like hit or miss at times. Sometimes
it's a work in progress.
It's not going to work, but I don't want to pick on guys, but I think over 4 games, and probably when we do this episode again, we'll be able to then say, no, I like Corbin here. I like Corbin here. I think Corbin works in 50 overs and test matches. I think he'd be so great at a 50 over World Cup, right? But here, I'm not so sure. I really am. I'm not. Because what I want from him at 8, I can get from a Marco or even a Gerald if they actually worked on their batting. That type of vibe. So that's my apprehension. But look, let's see. Give them a chance. Don't get angry about losing to New Zealand. I'm not mad. It's a Tri Series in Zimbabwe. Just like how people are saying, no one's ever going to remember a 400 scored against Zimbabwe in Bulawayo. Same thing. That same energy, throw it into this T20 series. Unless if we're getting blown out the water, I don't think we are. We're going to make the final against New Zealand, and we're probably going to beat them. I don't know. Because the thing is, we're due a Luandre spectacular performance. It hasn't been easy for him, but we're due a Luandre. Oh, this is amazing performance, and it's coming. Okay.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah. So they play again on Sunday against Zimbabwe, and then they'll play on Tuesday against New Zealand, and then the final will be on Saturday. So they'll have a 4-day break to roam around Harare. Okay. Finally, before we go, we want to start a new section called the community. And so, Tim, you'll explain, and then I'll put up the flyer of what we're trying to do.
Okay, so we want to give you more exposure. So anything to do with grassroots cricket, if you are a coach, if you are a cricket shop owner, if you are running a winter camp, if you are trying to get equipment for a school or a college or a previously disadvantaged area, and you want to get more exposure about that, tell people where they can donate, anything to do with grassroots. If you want to tell us about somebody who's worked in the grassroots of South African cricket and just needs recognition, by all means, tell us, get us involved. You can do that by emailing us at sacricketpod@gmail.com. So anything to do with grassroots cricket that you think in the coming weeks, months, is important, that needs exposure, that needs to get more voices out there, and needs to be attended, let us know. Email us, put a comment in the section of this video, contact us on Instagram @FormQuotaPod, the same on X, send us a DM there, and with all the relevant details, and we will put it out there at the end of our show on a weekly basis.
Yeah. So today's one comes out of the Northern Cape. So not Northwest, Northern Cape. This is a National Youth Service Initiative. Obviously looking to inspire hope into communities. There are job opportunities for 5 coaches, 1 team leader, 2 tutors, 2 umpires, 2 scorers, an administrator, and a groundsman. And obviously they're looking for ages between 18 and 35, and you must be unemployed. They're also looking for people who are residing in the Northern Cape community. So I'm assuming in the Kimberley and the surrounds community. The hubs that they're looking at are the HC Rose Hub near the Clement Richere Indoor Center in Emerald Street in Kimberley, the Frank Hoho Hub in Kimberley as well as the Kuruman Hub in Kuruman, and the Yorkshire Hub in Khayelitshiwe. So you see the registration date, 22 July. If you go to each of these hubs, the addresses are there. You'll be able to apply for these jobs and be able to, you know, work on growing the game of cricket. This is what we're talking about, grassroots cricket. They're the things that you need to bring. Hopefully in the next 4 days, you'll be able to do that. A bank confirmation letter is a letter from your bank. So if you go into the branch, they'll be able to give you a bank letter, and it's for them to pay you. It feels like first come, first serve. But yeah, it's something else. And I think just get there on the 22nd and see what they can do for you. I don't think they'll turn you back if you're missing something. It's really, really great initiative and great opportunity for you to go through if you love the game of cricket, and also spread it around the community. We're building a lovely community. Please send it to people you know, and yeah, you never know. We have an unemployment issue in South Africa, and the Northern Cape is one of the hardest hit provinces, and this is something that can help. So please do spread the word as much as possible. Do you know what I forgot, Tim? I forgot to tell people at the beginning of the show where they can find us. So at the end of the show, I'll tell them where they can find us. If you've watched up until this point, Thank you very much. I think, and you haven't subscribed to your YouTube channel, I think it's time to do that now on that red button there in the little corner. And then also you can follow us at Full Quarter Pod on X, subscribe to the Full Quarter YouTube channel, as well as the Full Quarter Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. In case you're doing errands or working, you can listen to us and argue with us while your boss thinks you're crazy or you are busy, at the gym or something. And then finally, please, thank you to all who have bought us some coffee. That's a growing community now. Please do buy some coffee as we grow this podcast. Remember, this podcast is going to rebrand into something that reflects who we are as a South African cricket podcast, your go-to shop for all things and debate. We love debate. We love comments. So please send through your comments. We'll take them. We'll discuss them and all of that. And yeah, so once the season is starting soon, preseason is about to start, I think, in August. So we'll be bringing you more information around that, the domestic game, and obviously the Proteas. The Proteas are going to finish in Zimbabwe. They're going to take a break, and then we're going to be looking towards Pakistan. But all of this, thank you very much for your contributions. You can continue to contribute at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quarter Podcast. Any last words, Tim, before we go, as the sun comes in?
Just to do every single thing that Mpho told you to do the last couple of minutes. The more shares, the more likes, the more follows we get, the better the content that we provide. I do have things in the pipeline that I want to do, but those things cost money. And so if you do feel at all appreciative of what we've done in the last 4 years, please buy us a coffee, share us, like us, put a comment on the video. We always reply to comments, and we will see you next week.
And then we will see you next week. It's from us here at the Full Quarter Pod. It's goodbye and Lesale Kakafiso.